Let's talk about a topic that might be costing you big time in your consulting, coaching, or service providing business: your onboarding and offboarding processes. Let me ask you, are you winging it? Are you scrambling to get clients on board without any real structure? Or worse, are you skipping them altogether? Do you even have an onboarding and offboarding process? If any of this sounds familiar, this video is for you. We're going to walk through how an unorganized onboarding and offboarding process can significantly hurt your business, and more importantly, how you need to fix it. So, let's get to work. First things first, let's keep it real, okay? The first thing I want you to think about is the fact that you are winging it, right? And that, my love, is a very big problem. You don't have a documented onboarding workflow or standard operating procedure, SOP, or process in place, and it's definitely going to hurt your business if you don't. When every client is onboarding into your product or service, that means that they have already gone through the sales process, they've already contracted and completed their service agreement, and in most instances, they've already given you that initial deposit or down payment. Once that happens, they will immediately expect to be pushed into what the next steps are in the project. And if you don't have a real true onboarding process that happens immediately in that process, then you are going to put yourself in a situation where clients will be very disgruntled, their experience will be, quite frankly, half-assed, and they will immediately have buyer's remorse and potentially request a refund or even cancel all of the hard work that you just did. You need a system for onboarding that is repeatable and automated so that you can get clients onboarded and offboarded, honestly, smoothly every single time. So if you're ready to really fix this problem, I want to make sure that you're aware of my Powered Up Processes Squad program. This is my exclusive small group coaching program that is designed for us to spend time together over the course of 3 months mapping out your core processes in your business. We are going to tackle the sales process, we are going to tackle the onboarding process, and we are going to tackle the offboarding process, and finally get your workflows and your SOPs, your documents, your templates, your swipe files, your automations complete and ready for you to implement so that you can be in a position to scale your business. So if that sounds like something, or in this video, a lot of what we're talking about sounds like stuff that you need to do or that you're aware that you've been needing to do and you just keep putting it off, then join the program. The link for it is going to be in the description in the comments below, but you can also access it by going to CherylCperez.com/pups program. It is exclusive and it has very limited seating because I want to keep this as small as possible. So I would definitely recommend that you jump in. Because once we max out at about 30 people per cohort, it's going to shut down until I decide to do it again in 2025. So bottom line in this piece, in this particular step, is if you don't have that SOP, that workflow, that onboarding process mapped out, that's the first thing you need to do. You need to map it out because it is going to change the game for your experience and flow into the service delivery piece, but also the experience that your clients have immediately after becoming a client. The second thing I need you to make sure that you realize about onboarding and offboarding is that onboarding needs to happen immediately when that contract is signed and billing begins. I've seen too many business owners delay onboarding. Someone makes a contract sign, they get their invoice, and then they do not hear from the person for a few days, or even in some instances, I've seen it as much as a week to 2 weeks. And that's usually an indication that you are scrambling behind the scenes about what you need to do in order to really effectively get them onboarded. So some key things you have to make sure that you are thinking about in this onboarding process. Number one, start onboarding as soon as the contract is signed and it is billed. Inside of my onboarding process, which is completely automated, well, the majority of it is automated because I do also have an onboarding welcome call. As soon as someone hits the button, signs the contract, the first invoice is sent, my automated onboarding process begins. And within hours of actually completing that, they are going to receive the first steps. That gives them that feeling of security and safety and continues to build that know, like, and trust. So you've got to make sure that speed is at the forefront of your goal when it comes to onboarding. It's the key to setting the right tone, starting strong, and letting the client know that throughout this project, I'm going to expect certain things from you. I'm going to have certain expectations, and I want to make sure that I am clearly meeting your expectations, because I can't expect you to meet mine if I'm not meeting yours. And trust me, a new customer or client is expecting to hear from you immediately and to begin their project immediately. So early action sets the stage for delivering the value that your client is expecting. And that is a big piece of why your onboarding process, if you don't have it happening immediately and you don't have that SOP from the first couple of things that we've been talking about, that's a big reason why it's costing you huge in your business and ultimately will prevent you from being able to scale and get to that next level. The third thing that I see oftentimes with disjointed or non-existent onboarding and offboarding processes is that you're not getting all of the project details up front. During your onboarding process, that is when you collect the project details. And when I say project details, I mean the critical step where you need to understand who the key players are and the key stakeholders on the client side, any upcoming events or situations that they have going on in the business that could delay the timeline, and then also what are your and their expectations from the start. Now, one of the biggest things that I hear and that I see, and that you may actually be experiencing and you will understand and be vibing with me when I say this, is that you are a coach or you are a consultant or you are a service provider and you've got a client and they're contracted and you're trying to get work done for them. And it seems like they are not cooperating with you. They're not responding to emails. They're not getting you the information that you need in order to be able to move forward with the project. Your timeline had the project ending in, 4 or 5 months, and you're into the 3rd month and you're not getting what you need. The people who are participating in getting you what you need aren't participating at all. And the frustration kicks in, but also the fear that you're losing the client because you're not getting the work done. They're not going to ultimately receive those deliverables in that scope of work that you promised them. And ultimately your contract will be null and void. If you've ever experienced that, then I would venture to say your onboarding process is missing this particular step. In the beginning of my onboarding process, before we even do the onboarding call, I will automatically, in my automated onboarding process, send them a project details questionnaire. And it asks some very specific questions. It includes information about who the stakeholders are and any potential delays in the timeline, because businesses and people have things going on. So for instance, I will say, if I know that the project involves the management team from the client that I'm working with, give me the name and email and title of everyone on the management team that's going to be involved in this project. Because then I can communicate directly with that management team. I'm not expecting that decision maker, that owner of the business, that CEO, that director of whatever, to be the middleman between me and their team. They don't have time for that. And oftentimes that's why you won't be getting the responses, because they don't have time and they are acting as the administrator of it. Your job as the expert is to make sure that you are getting the information that you need and that you are able to communicate with who you need to communicate with in order to get the job done. So it always asks for who the key players are, their contact information, what their role is. It also asks, are there any upcoming projects or major initiatives or major events that you have going on that could delay our timeline? Because, for instance, I have a client that I work with very frequently. They're a returning client, and they were doing a big office move. And this office move was kind of scheduled to happen in the middle of our project timeline. Well, in the beginning of our conversation, I very early on said, look, I know you guys have this office move and that you think it won't affect this project timeline, but I do know that it will. So let's make sure that we've built in enough time and set the expectation around this office move so that nobody is worried about having to meet deadlines during that time frame, because your timelines are going to ultimately include those deadlines. And that's an important piece of me being the expert, me being the leader in this project, me leading them down the right path, and being able to anticipate issues and adjust the timelines accordingly. So we were able to make sure that that month that they were going to be moving the office, that nothing was due, that we had what we wanted to get done before then, and we could use that time for me to work on stuff so that they don't have to worry about it. And the client totally appreciated that foresight from me. And then also getting all of the project specifics early keeps everyone on the same page. So this is a major piece of your onboarding process that if you don't have it, it's definitely affecting your business. The fourth thing that I see in onboarding and offboarding processes that affects people's growth and scale and just their customer experience is you're not conducting a proper onboarding call or project kickoff call with all the key stakeholders. Yes, it's an automatic part of my onboarding process. Once the automations begin and it kind of gets them situated, gets me the project details, then automatically they are asked to schedule an onboarding call. And that onboarding call walks them through all of the stuff that I've gathered from the project details questionnaire, as well as from the key stakeholders information and the timelines. So I will configure the timelines, kind of the project work scope stuff, and make sure that we get on a call. And I always recommend to them to make sure that their key stakeholders are involved in that call. Now, if all the key stakeholders can't be involved on that onboarding call, I will schedule the key stakeholders kickoff call, because everybody on the team that's involved with this particular project that I'm doing needs to be aware of what's happening, needs to be aware of those expectations. Skipping this step can lead to miscommunication, unclear goals, and delays that will drive you insane. So make sure that you are conducting this project kickoff call and an onboarding call, or combining them into one to align all the stakeholders and all the participants. Review your timelines in that call, the roles, responsibilities in detail, and then make sure that everybody has an easy way to communicate with you, because that is going to be the endorsement that you need. So as a consultant, it's a huge piece. When you are a coach, I onboard all of my coachees. Our very first call is always around setting expectations, running through the specifics of how they expect to be coached, because I get a project details questionnaire from them as well. So this applies across the board. Service providers, same thing. Make sure that you're doing this if you don't have it. And the details of what it includes, obviously we will be working on in the PUPS program, but I want to encourage you, if you want all the skinny, then make sure that you're in that program as well. The fifth biggest thing that I see in onboarding and offboarding that really derails the success of a project and also creates all kinds of stress is you don't have any templates, swipe files, or workflows ready to go. You just don't. So you are literally creating things from scratch every single time you get a new client, which is why your onboarding process takes so long and can't be automated. Without these, every onboarding thing that you do, every process that you go through feels like a brand new challenge, and it slows you down. It creates unnecessary work. And the biggest solution that I can give you is to prepare templates, workflows, all of those things ahead of time to make it really, really easy for you to just put them into your process. Automate tasks, very much so, like your welcome emails, your questionnaires, your project timelines, your details. Automate all of those things. So even if you haven't talked to the client immediately after they have contracted or gotten their first invoice, you are talking to them, because your emails are going to them. You're introducing them to their portal or client portal if you have one. You're introducing them to your coaching contract. You're introducing them to the expectations, you're sending them examples, and then you're ultimately getting on that call. So ready-made resources saves you time, it prevents overwhelm, but most importantly, it allows you to eventually be able to incorporate your team into this process. And actually, you know, all the processes that I've been talking about over the last few weeks, creating these helps you scale, not only because it streamlines and creates efficiency in your business right now, but because it ultimately allows you to add the team members that you need in order to free up your time so that you can actually live a life that you love and have a perfect work-life balance. So the key to work-life balance isn't just the money that's coming in, it's also the delegation that you can do, and you can't delegate if you don't have it prepared. So the templates, the workflows, the questionnaires, the samples, all of those things need to be done. And automate it as much as possible in order to make sure that your onboarding feels cohesive, feels consistent, and can ultimately deliver what you need it to deliver. And the sixth biggest thing that I see in onboarding and offboarding processes that is really affecting you, your business, your ability to scale, and your client experience is that you're not offboarding properly. And that's leaving a hugely sour taste in your client's mouth and eliminating so much opportunity for you. Most people that I talk to, especially those that I've done one-on-one coaching with, which is where the PUPS program even came from, the Powered Up Processes program. I do VIP days around processes, and I've also done one-on-one coaching. And in order to make it affordable, I wanted to make sure I could create like a group program. And a big thing that I realized over the years in doing it is that most of my coachees didn't even have an offboarding process. They would deliver the final scope, deliver the final deliverables, and just be done, right? And it's so impactful if you actually create a process or a workflow around this piece of your business. Offboarding is just as important as onboarding. You need to wrap up the project professionally. Offboarding should include a final report. You should be collecting feedback and social proof, and you should be looking at opportunities to upsell. So I have an offboarding wrap-up call in my process. We get on the phone when it's all done. I review what the scope said. I review all the details of what we accomplished. And right there on that call, I'm able to get that feedback. I'm able to secure and tell them, hey, I'm going to send you over a feedback form. Would you take the time to complete it? And they get it right away after that call. So I usually have like a 75% completion rate on that. I get tons of feedback so that I can tweak my service offering. And I also have an opportunity to upsell them. So a lot of my recurring revenue, monthly retainer-based clients came from the fact that I had an offboarding process with them and gave them the opportunity to continue to work with me on an ongoing basis beyond just the project. And that's really key in this offboarding process. This stage leaves a very impressive lasting impression that can lead to repeat business and referrals for sure. And never skip this piece, right? You have to wrap it up. Number one, you're contractually obligated, most likely in your service agreement, to do something and to deliver something. And you got to make sure that you're meeting that contract, because at any point somebody can come back and say that you didn't and request a full refund of the entire project. But also, it's just as important as onboarding because it gives you an opportunity and wraps everything up on a positive note, and you can make sure that your client is completely satisfied and not wonder and stress about that. So make sure that you have an offboarding process. And again, join the squad if you want to know more. So there you have it, my loves, a transformative step-by-step guide on how you should be working, what should be included in your onboarding and your offboarding processes. By taking the steps, it only saves you time, creates efficiency, and sets up your business for continued success and more growth, and ultimately lets your clients go through an experience that will bring them back over and over and over again for more. And that's ultimately what you want, let alone send you those referrals. So again, if you want all the details, all the swipe files, all the templates, all the coaching, all the work around these processes, sales, onboarding, offboarding, please check out the PUPS program. Enrollment is open right now. If you are watching this video and it's not enrollment's not open, you will go to a wait list. That's okay, because it's literally only open for a handful of days. I believe that today may even be the last day, or this week is the last day. So if you want in, you got to do it right away. Other than that, hope you enjoyed it. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share. And until next time, my loves, I will be here same time, same place next week. Bye-bye. Mwah!